I got a question for you, Tank. At 147, how does a fight with you and Terence Crawford look?
Damn.
147. Shit, if I
147.
tap that chin, you know he going to sleep.
I already know. I already know
he
he
ain't
is.
got no chance.
I already know he is.
He said no chance.
Rivalry between Tank and Crawford continues to heat up in the boxing world, and it looks like these two will be at odds for quite some time. For years, Crawford and Tank have debated who would knock the other out, but recently, the conversation has shifted to who earns more money and who has the bigger wife, literally. After Tank made things personal, it was only a matter of time before Crawford and his fans fired back. Now, after Tank suggested a fight between them, Crawford has had enough and decided to hit back with some brutal honesty. Terence Crawford, out of patience, took to X to send a blunt message to Tank Davis. Stop being scared and fight Shakur Stevenson and Keyshawn Davis before talking about someone in a league you'll never reach. Those words landed like a left.
Fish to fry, grow some balls and fight Shakur, Keyshawn, and stop being scared. That's probably why you ran your girl over and beat her ass, because she know you ain't got no nuts, my people. You know? And then right there, Gervonta pretty much insinuated, if I was to fight Crawford, I'll make him look little. Then they both said, yeah, I want dudes to see me and try something. That would be his last going for greatness. And then Terence said, go for it then.
Crawford's call-out is personal. Shakur Stevenson and Keyshawn Davis are more than just fighters. They are close friends of Crawford, with Keyshawn even being his protege under the guidance of their shared trainer Brian Bomac McIntyre. But let's be honest, Keyshawn Davis has yet to prove himself on the big stage. His performances against Miguel Madueño and Nahir Albright were underwhelming, to say the least. Fans have also been quick to point out his refusal to face Cuban phenom Andy Cruz, who humiliated him 4 times in the amateurs. Still, this is the level Crawford believes Tank should be competing at, rather than constantly bringing up his name. While there's some controversial truth to his statement, some fans argue
GervontaDavis speaking about you. Is that ever a possible fight?
Yeah, if he want to dare to be great, he can be like all the other fighters that's moving up 2 weight classes and, daring to be great.
You would fight him.
Man, tell him to come up there.
He got to come to win 54.
He said I got a glass chin, so tell him to come and touch it.
Wow.
Tank, unsurprisingly, has no interest in the 2 names mentioned by Bud. GervontaDavis has built a reputation as a box office superstar. He knows his worth and has no intention of giving Keyshawn Davis the spotlight, especially when Keyshawn lacks both a strong fan base and marketability. Then there's Shakur and Stevenson. While technically brilliant, Stevenson has been criticized for his defensive style, with some labeling him as boring. Even Eddie Hearn, who signed Shakur in hopes of turning him into a global sensation, may face an uphill battle trying to market. Him in the U.S. Tank doesn't see a fight with Shakur as worth the risk or effort, especially when he would have to carry the entire promotional weight. But Crawford wasn't done. This time, he took things up a notch. In a scathing tweet, since deleted, he went even further, mocking Tank's character and bringing up his personal controversies. That's probably why you ran your girl over and beat her ass, because you don't got no nuts, and she knows it, Crawford tweeted, ending his message with a laughing emoji. Boxing has seen its fair share of rivalries, but few have escalated to this level, especially between 2 elite fighters. Normally, fighters take shots at each other's careers or fighting styles, but when personal attacks start targeting family and personal lives, things get out of hand. These brutal jabs showed just how deep this feud has become. Crawford isn't just questioning Tank's career choices, he's attacking his pride. Tank Davis didn't take the insult lying down. This comes after he accused Crawford of chasing paydays instead of greatness. According to Tank, Crawford's call-out of Canelo Alvarez for a fight in Saudi Arabia is less about legacy and more about securing a massive retirement check. Y'all really think he's chasing greatness? Tank wrote on X. He's not. That's what he has to do to make decent money. The numbers seem to back up Tank's claim. Crawford's last fight against Israel Madrimov reportedly generated only $75K to $100K pay-per-view buys. a far cry from the blockbuster figures Tank pulls in.
You got guys who are really, really, really good, and they're not really hell-bent on becoming a star. I put you in that category. I put Terence in that category. Maybe Shakur, where they feel like they don't really want to, like, Terence ain't bothered about going to premieres.
Crawford, however, sees things differently. He claims that moving up 2 weight divisions to challenge the unified super middleweight champion is about cementing his place in boxing history. Legacy is the word he uses, but Tank isn't buying it. For Davis, Crawford's decision to jump 2 weight classes without first proving himself at 168 lbs reeks of desperation. Fans are divided on the issue. Some praise Crawford's ambition while others side with Tank, believing the Canelo fight is more about money than glory. The tension between Crawford and Davis isn't new. It dates back to the aftermath of Crawford's dominant victory over Errol Spence Jr. As Crawford celebrated becoming the undisputed champion, Tank Davis made headlines by claiming he could beat Crawford at 147 lbs. Crawford, appearing on The Breakfast Club, responded calmly but confidently, reminding everyone that there are levels to boxing. If he comes up to 147 thinking he's just going to knock Terence Crawford out, he's got another thing coming.
How you feel about that fight? Is it even possible at a catch weight?
There ain't no catch weight. You come up to 47.
Not even entertaining a catch weight.
No, I'm not.
He's a champ though too, undefeated.
And what champ? Come on, man, tell me what belt. You know boxing. You forgot Devin Haney is undisputed. Devin Haney got all the belts. He the champ. Nobody else the champ. I'm gonna come up here where the big boys at.
All right.
Despite the heated exchange, a fight between the two seems unlikely. Crawford has his sights set on Canelo Alvarez, a matchup that offers both legacy and financial rewards. Meanwhile, Tank Davis already has his next opponent lined up, Lamont Roach Jr., with their fight scheduled at the Barclays Center on March 1st. Fans of both fighters are left wondering, is this all just talk, or could there be a future where Crawford and Davis step into the same ring? What makes this rivalry even more intriguing are the controversial takes surrounding it. Some fans and analysts argue that Crawford is punching down by engaging with Tank, who competes at 135 lbs, a significantly smaller weight class. They believe a fight at 140
lead with ego. Like if you hear somebody like Tank say 147, I knock Bud out.
Well, he just talking.
Mm-hmm.
You know, he got the confidence in himself that he believed that he can do that because he's been knocking all these fighters out that he's been in the ring with. You know, so no knock to Tank, but there's definitely levels. You know.
And there's the issue of marketability. Crawford may not be the pay-per-view draw that Tank is, but his accomplishments speak for themselves. In the boxing world, should legacy outweigh popularity? Tank, on the other hand, is no stranger to controversy. His critics accuse him of cherry-picking opponents and avoiding the toughest challenges in his division, including Shakur Stevenson and Devin Haney. Crawford's comments about Tank being scared resonate with those who believe Davis has yet to prove himself against the very best. However, Tank's supporters...
I mean, if he want to retire with the career that he got, then go ahead and do whatever you got to do. So I disagree with it. I think it's soft, but that's on him.
Terence Crawford has finished 31 of A. His 41 fights inside the distance, while GervontaDavis boasts 28 knockouts in 30 bouts. If these two wrecking balls of the sport ever collided, it would be pure chaos in the ring, and chaos is where legends are forged. Crawford's precise dismantling of opponents stands in sharp contrast to Davis's jaw-dropping out-of-nowhere detonations. Yet both men share one undeniable truth. When they smell blood, the fight is as good as over. Brian Norman Jr., a fighter who has sparred with Crawford, perhaps put it best. He recalled how a younger version of himself was taught a painful lesson in maturity by Crawford. According to Norman, Crawford doesn't rely on singular fight-ending bombs, but instead employs a methodical breakdown, a slow death by 1,000. Pinpoint punches. He doesn't necessarily one-shot people, but what he does is he just beats you up, and then he kills you, Norman said. On the flip side, when it comes to raw, unfiltered power, Norman reserved his highest praise for Davis. As far as one-shot power, who got it? I gotta give that to Tank. But here's the rub. Crawford's brilliance lies in his ability to adapt on the fly, seamlessly switching stances and exploiting openings in real time. That's not to say Davis lacks boxing IQ. On the contrary, his ring smarts are criminally underrated. Yet it's hard to ignore that Davis thrives in chaos, while Crawford is the ultimate puppeteer, pulling strings until his opponent becomes an unwitting participant in their own demise. Roy Jones Jr. weighed in on the hypothetical matchup, praising Davis's explosiveness. That's the one thing Tank got that Errol Spence didn't have. In boxing, an explosive fighter can go a lot of places, Jones said. His words carry weight. Spence, an elite technician, couldn't withstand Crawford's adjustments.
Bad dude. See, what I like about Tank is Tank brings something different. You know, back in the days, everybody had something. Muhammad Ali was a mover boxer, George was a puncher, Ernest Shavers was a puncher. Everybody had something they brought to the table. Larry Holmes had a jab. Mike Weaver had a...
Crawford has ventured into the most treacherous waters and emerged not just unscathed, but utterly dominant. Davis, on the other hand, has built his resume with names like Leo Santa Cruz, Ryan Garcia, and Rolando Romero. Impressive. No doubt, but not quite the murderer's row that Crawford has faced. And yet that's precisely what makes this fantasy matchup so intriguing. Davis has a habit of making elite fighters look ordinary, suggesting he's more than capable of rising to Crawford's level. Physically, Crawford would enter the fight as the naturally bigger...
Probably in your top 10, maybe even your top 5.
Where do you rank Terence, in your opinion?
I put him in the top 15, maybe the top 10, because he definitely has the skill of a top 5. Just that he hasn't had the opposition that some guys were able to get, and that's not his fault. He just made one of the best fighters in his weight class look like nobody. That's pretty damn good.
Davis, though shorter and more compact, has never struggled to carry his power through weight classes. Still, fighting someone like Crawford at 145 lbs would push him into uncharted territory. Stylistically, Crawford's versatility would be his greatest weapon. His ability to seamlessly switch between orthodox and southpaw could frustrate Davis, forcing him to think rather than react, a scenario where Davis is arguably at his weakest. But let's not pretend Davis is just a mindless slugger. His calculated dismantling of Ryan Garcia, culminating in that perfectly placed liver shot, is proof of his ring intelligence. Davis doesn't just throw punches, he sets traps. The question is whether he could set a trap for someone as seasoned and cerebral as Crawford. And then there are the intangibles. Davis has that X factor, the ability to end a fight in the blink of an eye. He's a fighter who doesn't need to win rounds. He only needs a moment. Against someone like Crawford, that's a dangerous weapon to have. For all his brilliance, Crawford has been touched before. Jose Benavidez Jr. found success early in their fight, and Egidijus Kavaliauskas even managed to wobble him. If Davis lands clean, it could spell the end, no matter how dominant Crawford had been up to that point.
405. 405. There you go.
These aren't easy questions to answer, which is why the mere idea of this fight sets imaginations ablaze. The big hitter from Baltimore has claimed in the past that he would knock Crawford out, perhaps tongue-in-cheek, but the bigger man has warned him not to punch above his weight. That kind of trash talk fuels debates, and in this case, it's warranted. Davis may have the edge in raw power, but Crawford's mastery of the sweet science makes him a nightmare for any opponent. The truth is...
Stop closing up and let it go. Keep turning, step around. Keep turning.
Now, if you go over there and take back everything you said, If you kiss the ring for a payday, then you're going to lose a big fan, dog. And I'm going to come at you. For real, said Tim Bradley. His words struck a chord. With many fans who believe that boxing is increasingly becoming a money-driven spectacle, losing touch with its raw, grassroots appeal. Tank's refusal to engage in what he sees as bowing down for a check isn't just about the money. It's about loyalty to his base. It's about proving that boxing is more than just business. For him, it's about standing by his principles. Not everyone shares his view. Critics argue that Davis's stance is short-sighted, as he risks turning down historic paydays and missing out on a global audience. They point to top fighters like Terence Crawford and Gervonta "Tank" Davis, who are reportedly working on deals with Saudi investors, signaling a major shift in boxing's epicenter. Still, Davis remains unfazed. To him, the influx of Saudi money is more about business than boxing, and that's a direction he refuses to follow. But where do you stand? Is Tank preserving boxing's legacy or missing a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity?
Number 5. Of course, it is the heavyweight.
Oh, no, okay.
Oh, you are in serious trouble. You are in serious trouble.
They know I love the heavyweight. You can add any fighters you want as number 5 heavyweight. Not fighter only from Queensland.